How's it going, guys, and welcome to the final episode of this Switch Stance tuitional series. In this one, we're going to be covering 3 switch sliding moves, which are all super stylish and actually very simple and quite good for light winds. If you're looking for one specific move in this video, don't worry, there are chapter markers in the description. You can head to that specific move, get all the information you need. But first, let's kick it off with the Clew First Puneta. The Clew First Puneta is arguably easier than a regular puneta. The reason being is we're actually going to transition to the new side of the sail into that Clew First position before we've even taken off, meaning that when we pop the board, we're not changing sides of the sail anymore. For this, we don't even need to go switch. You can actually jibe into a Clew First Puneta, which makes it a really good entry move to learning switch stance. You can also do this move when you go for your switch duck, but it goes around the front of the board, and naturally that sail goes into the Clew First position. From there, you can grab the sail Clew First and try this move. But for this video, we're gonna look at how to do it intentionally, where you duck the sail or transition to the new side of the sail into Clew First on purpose. Like with every move then, guys, what do we need? Well, we need speed in switch stance, and that's really important again for all of these sliding moves. Once again, as with all of these videos, if you haven't learned how to step switch stance yet, not a problem, don't worry. Check out the first episode of this series where I break down how to get comfortably into switch stance, and then you'll be ready to go for these moves. We really want to carry as much speed as possible, especially through these sliding moves, as it will make the rotation faster and less technical. The slower they are, the more you're going to have to do deliberately with the sail, whereas the faster you're going, the more the move will flow. With you being in switch stance with loads of speed, it's now time to look at how to get into that Clew First position. Now, with all Clew First positions in windsurfing, the easiest way to control the sail in this position is on a broad reach, so 45 degrees downwind. So that's exactly the angle that we're going to go on in switch stance when we're going for this move. To transition to the new side of the sail, we're going to do much the same movements as a duck jibe. You're going to slide that back hand down, and we want to take as fewer hand movements as possible to get to that new side of the sail, increasing sail control and board speed. It's also important at this point that our weight is over the center line of the board, keeping that board nice and flat so that we've got the maximum control once again. Once you're in that switch stance Clew First position, make sure to have your hands really wide apart so you can really control the sail as much as possible. From here, it's now time to take off. The movements of this rotation are actually pretty simple. All we're doing is popping the board 180 degrees, and then we're going to find ourselves in that backwinded position, much like the standard puneta that we covered in the last video, before we then carve out of the move 540 degrees. In order to do this, like with all freestyle moves, we're going to use the sail to generate our rotation. So how do we do this on the Clew First Puneta? Well, we're going to pop the board in our switch stance position, and as we do this, we're going to slide our back hand right to the harness lines to join our front hand. What this is doing is releasing the power in the clew, which is then using that to generate whip into the move, which is then giving you that 180 rotation. Once you're coming round this 180, make sure to keep that weight over your front leg, over the center line, with your weight on your toes. This is going to keep that rail unlocked, but it's also going to mean that you can keep your weight over the sail in that backwinded position so that you have maximum control over the power in the sail. From here, you're in exactly the same position as every other switch freestyle move. You're in that backwinded position where you're just going to carve out, look into the rotation, and sail away 540. For me, the real key to this move is sliding those hands together. It's really important to help generate the rotation from the sail and that clew, and then it's going to put you in the best position to have the sail forwards so that you can then slide around the last bit of the puneta. This move really should be the first move that you learn in switch stance, as it's one of those that you can even jibe into, and I really think that's a cool way to get started in this switch stance position. That's it for the Clew First Puneta, guys. Now we're going to move on to the second move of the 3, which is the E-slider. Now, at the time of releasing this video, I don't actually have a grubby tutorial out on the channel. However, the E-slider is just a switch stance grubby, so if you can grubby, that's great. This could be the next step for you in switch stance. If you guys want to see a grubby tutorial, let me know in the comments, and actually if there's any other tutorials you want to see, any other moves you want me to cover, also leave a comment below and I'll have a look and we can hopefully make more in the future. Without further ado then, let's go through this E-slider step by step. Now, the first thing, like I said at the start of this video, these moves are really good to do in lighter winds. Now, the beauty of the E-slider is that we're not changing our hands at any point during the rotation. We're staying on that same side of the boom, which means we can afford to have a little less speed and a little less power. So if you're in switch stance and you're running out of wind, you're into a lull and you're losing board speed, the E-slider should be your go-to move to get through that lull and to style it out. For me personally, I only really do this move when I'm underpowered. But if you guys want to learn and it's a really windy day, what you can do is go further downwind, so beyond a broad reach, kind of 50, 60 degrees downwind. That's going to kill a little bit more power, give you a little bit more rotation already completed, and it's just going to help a little bit in those stronger winds. Let's then get into the initiation of the move then, guys. Now, you're going to get tired of me saying this, but once again, like with all these moves, the rotation from the board comes from the power in the sail and how we maneuver that power. So how do we do this on an E-slider? What we're going to do is we're going to pop the board in switch stance and we're going to extend our front arm while pulling in and overshooting with the back arm. Once you've initiated this catapult, this rotation, you're going to come around with the board and I want you to really extend your back leg to resist the power in the sail. Like with all these moves, I want you on your front leg, on your toes, over the board. This is going to be really important because once we've turned 180, we're now going to be sliding backwards in the clew first position and we're going to become clew first back-winded. Now this is quite an awkward position, which again is why speed is really important here. The faster we're going, the more fluid the rotation and the less time we're going to spend in this awkward back-winded clew first position. Once you've landed this 180 degrees, your weight's on your front foot, it's now time to keep looking into that rotation, of course, and we want to prepare ourselves for coming into this clew first back-winded position. Now, how are we going to do this? We're going to get our weight and our shoulders over the board, over the sail as much as possible, and we're going to extend that clew arm. That back hand, we're going to extend as far away from us as possible, like you would in a clew first heli-tack. Now, if you guys are learning to E-slider, this is a move in light winds I would really learn to have dialed, as it's exactly the same as what's happening in an E-slider, and that is the clew first heli-tack. So get out on a big beginner board or on a simulator on the land, and you can then mimic these rotations. And once you have the muscle memory, it's just a faster version of a clew first heli-tack. Like with all heli-tacks, guys, it's really important that we expose as little of the sail to the wind as possible to give us the most amount of control. As soon as we expose the whole sail to the wind, we're just going to get blown backwards, and the same principles apply to the E-slider. Once you're in this clew first back-winded position, I quite like to try and take a moment to stabilize, make sure I've come back through the wind 360 degrees before I then open up the sail back into that switch stance position. And we can either continue sailing in switch stance, or what will naturally feel more comfortable is that you end up jibing out on your heels and flipping the sail at the end. Let's quickly then wrap up the key points for the E-slider before we move on to the final move. Now, in that initiation, I really want you to keep that sail really close to you with the backhand and extend that front arm forward. Something that will help this, and also later in the rotation, is sliding that backhand further down. Just going to give you more control, and when you do find yourself in that clew first back-winded position, your hands are going to be wide enough to control that power as well. The second point, which I've mentioned a lot in this tutorial, is to stay over the board with your weight over the sail. That clew first back-winded position, if you're not familiar with it, can be quite intimidating, but as long as you're over the sail and you've got enough rotation speed, then you've got nothing to worry about. My final point would be to learn how to clew first heli-tack before you start to E-slider. It's a really important skill to have, and you can do this on a big beginner board, or you can even do it on your short board at the end of the session once the wind's dropped. It's a really good core skill to have. And with that, I think it's time to move on to the final move of this tutorial, which is going to be the stylish Switch Chachoo. Now, the Switch Chachoo then. I've left it till last because, for me, best till last. It's the most stylish, the best crowd pleaser. When the wind is light, you can come in, you're ducking the sail while popping the board and coming around 540. It just looks really cool in my opinion. Like with the E-slider, the Switch Chachoo I prefer to do in not a lot of wind. So kind of, I've got speed, but I'm coming into a lull, so there's less power in the sail, and it makes it more easy to maneuver around the move. Like with all these moves, guys, I'm not going to repeat it again. Switch stance, and I want you on a 45-degree angle downwind. So you're going on a broad reach downwind. Just before we take off then, guys, we're going to be going around the clew. So it's really important to slide that backhand further down in the preparation before you take off to make your life easier to get round the clew once we initiate the rotation. Let's get straight into the takeoff then, guys. So to start with, we're going to pop the board with our feet and we're going to pull in with our backhand, extending our front arm up and forwards. As the board is starting to leave the water, I want you to immediately let go with that front hand and then extend the back arm further forward to give yourself space to grab with your front hand on the clew of the sail. At this point, you're going to pull the sail from the clew right behind you so that you can get to the new side of the sail in front of the harness lines. It's really important to minimize the amount of hand changes that you're doing on the boom. We're not trying to shimmy our way around the boom. We are doing one big motion, one big pull behind us, so we get straight onto the new side, and we should be catching the sail on the new side of the sail as we're landing with the board. I kind of like to think about it as starting the lawnmower or starting a chainsaw. It's a big whip, aggressive movement to get to the new side of the sail. You really have to commit to this when you're doing a switch chachoo. If you half go at it, you're not going to make it around the sail. Like with all these moves, it's really important that, again, your weight is inboard, on your toes, over your front leg to encourage the board to slide around the next part of the rotation. Especially with the switch chachoo, if your weight is too far back, you're going to land and sink on the tail and you're going to fall out the back. So really focus on getting that weight forwards, and that comes all the way from the start of the initiation of the move. We want to pop and go forward. Like with all maneuvers that we're going around the clew of the sail, it's important to remember that we are moving the sail around us. We are not ducking around the sail. That will help keep our weight where it needs to be without us shifting due to the position of the sail. Once you come around 180 degrees, make sure to keep your weight on your toes so that you don't lock a rail and bog the rotation. And keep looking into the turn so that you keep encouraging the sail to move. You'll find yourself in this back-winded position like we have in so many of the moves in this series. And from there, once again, we jibe around on our heels so that we come out of your first switch chachoos, or maybe even you've just improved a few of them. All right then, let's wrap it up and look at the key points of the switch chachoo before we finish the series. I want you to really extend that sail up and forward on the takeoff, making sure you've already slid that backhand back on the preparation to give yourself the best chance of getting round the clew as easy as possible. Once you're at the clew, remember to really pull the sail back behind you like you're starting a lawnmower to give yourself the best chance of getting that front hand in front of the harness lines at the first time of asking so that you're ready straight away to slide around the rest of the maneuver. And again, keep your weight forward, keep it on your toes, and then you'll come round into that back-winded position and you should be sailing away no problems. In this series, we've covered 10 switch stance freestyle moves. If you've mastered them all, you're getting comfortable, I challenge you to add a 360 to the end of all of them, or maybe even a funnel. I'm not going to break that down now, but maybe that's a future video. And talking of future videos, if you guys want to see other videos, tutorials, or other freestyle challenges with other windsurfers, let me know in the comments so that we can make that happen for you. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future videos. And if you've got a friend that's struggling with a switch stance move, make sure to share this series with them. Again, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in a future series.